Hello, today I'm going to present on why corrective actions are not effective sometimes. Before we get to why these corrective actions are not effective, let's look at what is corrective actions. Is if there is any issues, any defects in the process, which we call non-conformity. So whenever this kind of non-conformity happens, immediately we have to correct it. Let's take an example here. There is a fire. So the moment there is a fire, the first thing anyone will do is to put out this fire. This process is called correction. A correction basically is correcting the defect or correcting the deficiency or correcting the non-conformity. Then the corrective action is taken. The corrective action is basically, suppose once defect is happened, then we develop and take some actions so that these defects do not occur again in future. So in the example here, what has caused fire, we have to take the actions and make sure that we do not get the fire again. So any kind of actions taken to avoid the recurrence of the non-conformity, that is called corrective action. And there is something called preventive action. Preventive action is basically the defect is not happened, non-conformity did not happen. So we are assuming what can go wrong. So we call it as a potential defect or potential non-conformity, and we take the action so that this non-conformity do not happen in the first place. That is called the preventive action. Look at this diagram here. In case let's assume a manufacturing industry scenario. So when there is a problem, what we do? We do the root cause analysis. We identify what are the main causes of this problem. Based on these causes, we take the corrective action so that we improve the quality and this problem do not occur again. That means we are basically trying to prevent the recurrence of the issues. In case of preventive action, it's a potential problem. The problem is not there. There is no defect, nothing. We just assume what can go wrong. Based on this assumption, we assume or we dig down and find out what are the potential causes that this can lead to these issues. And we take the action here, preventive action, before the issue arises, so that the issue do not arrive in the first place. That's the basic difference of corrective actions and preventive actions. My presentation today is going to get limited only to the corrective actions. And why I am having this presentation? Because many times what happens, we take the corrective actions, but those corrective actions are not effective. Why it is not effective? That's what I am going to address. The basic purpose of any corrective action is to take the action so that the issue which has occurred or the problem which has occurred do not repeat in future. And if the problem is getting repeated, that means the corrective action is not efficient. The main reasons for corrective action not being effective is here. One, whenever there is an issue, whenever there is a non-conformity, the normal human tendency is to just fix the problem before even finding the actual root cause. We do not dig down into details. What could have caused this issue? We just assume, okay, this is the issue, okay, you fix it and move ahead. That's the biggest contributor in the main reasons. The second, maybe there is no real commitment from the people down the line to fix the issue. Okay, there is a problem occurred, just do the correction and let it go and continue the process. So that means basically people get confused between the correction and the corrective action. They only do the correction and corrective action is not being taken, and that's completely ignored. Third thing, most of the cases what happens is that the people who are taking the corrective actions or doing the root cause analysis, they are the expert in that field. And because they are the expert in that field, they do not think out of the box. They think, okay, this is the issue, this is the reason, this is the issue, this is the reason. So it is just all the actions are taken within a particular frame of mind, and that is why the out of box solution do not come, and that also one of the contributing factor why the corrective actions are not effective. There are a lot of tools which is used in the root cause analysis. I am assuming, because this itself is a big subject, so I am assuming those who are watching this video or this presentation, they know what is root cause analysis. And if someone doesn't know, I better advise, do some research on Google. You can go back. I have given some concepts here like 5 why, which is like, okay, you have an issue, you ask this question, why this issue, you get some answer, again ask this question, why, you ask this question, why 5 times, and you get to the root cause. Whatever root causes we get, you drill it down into the cause and effect diagram or the Ishikawa diagram or the fishbone diagram, and you can categorize this thing and you can get. You can also use some kind of check sheets, so categorize, and then you do the Pareto analysis, so you know, okay, these are the two are the vital few. I'm not going to go into details of this because I'm assuming that you know about the root cause analysis, and if my assumption is wrong, please go back to net, go back to Google and do it. Again, there are not only 4 key tools, there are a lot of tools. There are 7 basic tools, there are 7 new tools, so I can list down 18 to 20 tools here. These are the 4 basics, so better you can do that study. But assuming there is an issue, there is a non-conformity, and you have done the root cause analysis and you know what are the basic roots. So how this root cause analysis is done? It's a classic diagram of root and weed. So this concept is like what we see on the prima facie is only the problem. So this is the surface of the weed, and you see what you see is only the issue. That's the problem. But actual causes are not here. The causes, the source of this issue, source of this problem lies under the ground. There could be some contributing factor. There could be some underlying issue. You have to drill down, and we have to get to the each and every roots. And these are the issues or roots which cause this problem. So the basic what we get from this diagram is that for any problem there is not only a single cause. Every problem will have multiple causes. So when we act within the frame of mind, or when we act based on the only the correction, not the corrective action, what we see prima facie with one issue and we assume that it could have happened because of one particular cause, we just take action on that cause, and we just ignore rest of the causes. And that is why this root cause analysis is very important. We do all this root cause analysis, get down to all these causes. It could be 1, it could be 50, and then maybe we can do the Pareto analysis for prioritization. But here I would rather come to a different this thing. What we do, all these causes, you do the Pareto analysis, identify the vital fews, which is the main contributor, and then for those contributor develop the corrective action. As I said, one problem might have multiple root causes. Every cause might have multiple corrective actions, and that is why do not attack on every cause. Pareto analysis is must to identify which one to attack, and for that particular cause develop the corrective actions. Not one action, it could be multiple action. When we develop this multiple action, a simple representation, we have to see what is the ease of implementation of those corrective actions and what is the impact on getting to the solution. Just classify high impact and ease of implementation. Immediately implement, because you have very high impact and very easy to implement. Just start it immediately. The one which has easy to implement but impact is low, this could be like a complementary. You do this, then come here. The second one, is this. The third one, which is the impact is high, but its implementation is not easy. Maybe requires some financial investment or something. These are the major project, and we have to take it as a project. Maybe the multifunctional task force or whatever it is. There are different ways organizations can follow and take it as a major product. And this one my advice, forget at the moment, because though it is easy to implement, the impact it's not easy to implement, and impact is also very low. So this is really back burner. And if we do not do this kind of segregation and just try to implement, maybe we are starting with this, and once we start with this, the actions will be never effective. So the it should be, hierarchy should be like this: high impact, ease of implementation should be priority; medium impact, ease of implementation should be action; low impact, medium ease of implementation, consider; and low impact and highly difficult to implement, or low on the scale of ease of implementation, eliminate that. So once we do that, I can give you some examples here. Maybe the Pokayoke, which is a mistake proofing, that's we can do immediately. Preventive maintenance could be the next one. The visual controls, okay, we can do. Process automation, the major product, maybe we require some investment and all. Process change, maybe we need a task force. Quality alerts, just call a meeting and do some visual aids. These are the into the second quadrant. Ergonomic developments, just forget it. So that's how, just think on this. Maybe many of you may not understand what I said. If you do not know what is root cause analysis, again my advice will be, go through some research, do the root cause analysis understanding, or read those articles, you will understand, and then come back and again go through this presentation, and I'm sure you will understand what I'm trying to say. Thank you very much. If you like what I'm presenting, please do subscribe to my channels. Thanks.